Hello. Today marks the beginning of Bare Frequencies, and I could not think of a more fitting artist to open up. Hannibal Rex doesn't walk the line, he warps it. There's a real rebellion in what he does, a refusal to conform, and I am so here for it. Recognised by some of the scene's most respected heads, Debridge, J. Kenzo, the ones with tuned ears and no time for hype. Support from these homies hasn't come from slick PR or scene politics, but from the raw truth in the way he's honed his craft. It's an honour to have him here with us today, opening this series as our very first guest. Hannibal Rex, welcome. So this is how I see it. When I watch you perform from behind the mask, I don't feel like you're hiding. It feels like you're revealing something deeper, something that maybe couldn't be seen if you weren't wearing it. It's more than just a costume. It's a ritual, a portal. We all wear masks as shields, but yours feels intentional, almost spiritual. What's on the other side of that portal?
Okay. Well, I suppose the masks, they exist to allow me to be more expressive with myself. They've become a bit of a conduit for a truer form of expression, I guess. Like in my own life, I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily hear what I'm saying, or if I'm just difficult to pay attention to, I don't know. But with these masks, there's at least a visual hook for people to connect with and infer some meaning. Like I've got loads of different masks and each one has their own meaning to it. But I'm a big fan of like letting the audience make their own conclusions. I don't want to tell people what they're about. I'd rather people found their own thing from it and related to it in their own way, apply their own interpretations. Yeah? But they do express some, I don't know, they allow me to express a bit more of myself, maybe a bit too much. Maybe I overshare things when I've got the masks on that I wouldn't ever say if I didn't. But yeah, it's always concealed under a little bit of tomfoolery or chicanery.
Okay. Thanks for being so honest. I think that's what makes Hannibal so powerful. You know, I think that vulnerability, that rawness, you know, I don't think you're not hiding behind the mask. I think you're channeling something through, and it's like what you say, the audience gets to decide. It's like them using their own kind of imagination, you know, and just to decide for themselves what it is that they see. And I think as well, you know, people see that and it's real, and I think they feel it as well.
That's my intention.
So Hannibal Rex doesn't just feel like a name. He feels like an entity, a world or a mythology. Can you tell me about his birth?
Do you want the real story or the myth that we built around it? Because each is as interesting as the other, really. First of all, the name itself actually comes from a Tom Waits song called Going Out West. He says that there's a line in it that I think I was pretty young when I first heard the track, but it stuck with me all the years, where he says, I'm going to change my name to Hannibal or maybe just Rex. So I was like, well, I'm going to do both. So that's all good. But yeah, I guess the actual idea of the character had been, to use the birth analogy, had been gestating for a while before I'd realised maybe. So with the music I was making at the time, I'd started playing guitar more. In my own time, I started writing poetry again. And I was dealing with a lot of self-loathing and decided to disassociate the person I am from the music and the art I was creating. And it was off the back of essentially a breakup. I was generally pretty disillusioned with the music scene. And yeah, a big part of it came from working with the Kikuji record label.
Right.
So the guy who runs that, Matt Bayfield, who also runs Purple City Co. with Ashley Hill. They're both really great people. They helped develop the idea. So initially, I was just writing an EP for them under the old alias. And then we started to have weirder ideas. Matt and I became better friends. Found out we had a lot in common, like between fans of Tom Waits and Desert Rock mainly. And then I started writing songs with lyrics and sending them to him being like, oh, I've just sort of written a bit of a thing. He was like, this is actually really good. Like, I'd be happy to put this on the Kikuji thing if we maybe make some more things along that vibe. And then had an EP growing. So a character started to form because I realised if I'm going to be singing, I don't want people to associate it with the music I was doing before. I'd much rather it was an open book, a blank slate for people to, like I said, with the masks, project their own thing onto. But at the same time, give myself a platform to express how I feel. And I think that's how it came about, really.
I love that. It's a mix of myth and reality.
Yeah, because that's the thing. When we created the character, that's when Matt and I started to write a backstory about he was a session musician from the 70s who died and got resurrected in a petrol station.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
It was a big myth, but I think over the years it's faded a little as life has got in the way a bit.
Yeah, of course, that happens. I think it makes sense that Hannibal emerged out of both, heartbreak and creativity.
Yeah.
And I think there's something, honest in the way that you talk about, needing that persona, not to hide, but to carry weight of expression.
Yeah, I think so.
And it clearly worked.
Yeah, thanks.
It clearly worked. There's a depth and there's a grit to Hannibal that feels lived in and not made up.
Thank you.
And I think it's beautiful. I really do. I think it's beautiful that what has started as a way to protect yourself has become a whole world, that others can step into.
Thank you very much for saying so.
So, yes. Your sound feels cinematic, like a film score, textured and heavy, evoking vivid imagery, emotions and entire landscapes in the listener's mind, but there's also space in it. A breath, much like the negative space in a beautiful painting.
True.
Or the unoccupied areas in a composition. Those empty spaces are just as crucial as filled ones, offering contrast and balance. And even though it stems from dance music, I wouldn't say it's for the dance floor. It's beyond entertainment. I think it's much, much bigger, much more complex. And I think it's art. What's behind the process of creating this unique sound?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you very much for saying such nice things about the music I've made.
It's true.
Oh, well. That's just like your opinion, man. But no, but seriously, thank you.
My opinion's always right.
So in terms of the creation of it, I guess it's fundamentally, it's me applying dance music production to a desert rock or stoner rock sensibilities. The use of a space in terms of arrangement, the big gaps before certain sections, or in a mix even having really sparse elements and just letting each thing have its own place there that you can appreciate, I think, the elements of the track. That's something I try and do a lot. But I always try and approach building things differently. Like I've never made something the same way. I don't know if that's... It's weird. I'm so routine in my day-to-day life. I don't like change, really. I'm quite set in my ways. If I have a plan for a day, I want it to go to plan.
Right, okay.
But when I'm making tracks, it's the complete opposite. It's just pure chaos. And whatever I'm feeling that day, one day I'll sit down with my guitar and just jam out for 3 minutes, record it all, and then build something around it. But then some of the times it'll just be I'm sitting there for about 4 hours at 16 bars of a drum loop.
It's like a release, isn't it? It's almost like, you have this, like you say, this organised life, but then when you get into your creative, it's just like you're just letting everything go. Yeah.
I think as much as I like things to be organised, when it comes to stuff to do with my personal self, I'm very disorganised. Just a contradiction, but that seems to be part of my personality.
Right.
But foundationally, musically for me, like the way I write tracks and understand music came off the back of Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age and Caius and various other projects. But
amazing.
When I learnt music, guitar particularly, it was learning their tracks and how they put together things. So certain scales he'd use, the tunings that they'd use, and even the guitar tones and stuff. It's still I carry to this day. But I try and transport that over to the rest of my setup. So I use a modular synth, which I've been building for the last 3 years and still got a massive hole in it. But it works. It works. And, no one else will have the same thing I have, which lets me then put more of myself into it. That's your uniqueness,
isn't it? That's you.
Yeah.
It's part of you.
And that's becoming a foundational part of the Hannibal thing now as well. Just having that off-kilter synth there with the Desert Rocky guitars and whatever drums I'm feeling at the time.
So there's a richness in the way you approach your sound. You're drawing from so many different worlds. Yeah. Nothing feels borrowed. It feels lived. So that modular setup, the silence, the riffs, the lyrics, it's all part of the layered storytelling. So you're not just building tracks, you're actually building dimensions.
Yeah. I'm trying.
And the fact that there's no set formula, that freedom, it really comes through in your music, and it does.
Oh, thank you.
And it feels honest, and it feels unpredictable. Just like you.
Oh, thank you.
But that's a compliment.
Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment.
Take that as a compliment.
Oh, thank you.
Are there visual or sensory references guiding you when you create?
Well, ironically, for how much of a Hannibal has like a visual aspect, I'm not a very visual person. Like in myself, I'm scruffy, my room's a mess, my handwriting is a nightmare. I don't think about aesthetics a lot, but there are certain things that, I don't know, I recognize the importance of visual stuff. I was reading something not long ago about, there's like I don't know, it's not like official, but someone measured the mind's eye with a scale. So 1 to 5. 1 is someone asks you to picture something and you can't. There's nothing there. 5 is it's a full-on 3D object, full color. You can rotate it in your mind. It's there. I think I'm about a 3.5 if I'm being generous. So I can picture an object in like 2.5D. There's color, but it's really cool. It's desaturated. Its contrast is overdone, so the edge lines are really too much. But yeah, I've got bad depth perception as well, so that might contribute to that.
Right, okay.
So yeah, I'm not the most visual person on that thing, but certain sounds or like melodic motifs can trigger visual ideas in my head. A really strong one, when I first started getting into music production, however long ago, was a track called Angels by Synchro. Okay. And it's got this, I guess it's an acid bass, or it's a square wave bass with a filter on it or whatever. And I remember having a chat with my mate at the time, and he was like, this sounds like a Pink sound. And I was like, really? I'm seeing like a big sort of blobby blue thing in my head.
That's amazing, isn't it? How your mind works. Yeah. How you start visualizing it. It's great.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it counts as synesthesia, but I think it is something that I do get with certain things. Like, there's certain bass sounds that I think that sounds like a kettle, like a rusty kettle tipping.
That's really cool.
But it can't be, but it just makes me think of it.
That's sick.
And I get ASMR from a lot of things. Like, it's always been sounds, but last year, have you watched the show Severance?
I haven't, no.
Well, there's a character in it who, for some reason, whenever she appeared on the screen, I'd get ASMR.
Right, okay.
And I've never had that of a visual stimulus before.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was really strange. But when I get it with sounds, like, and some of the tracks I've written, I know it's kind of a special thing. I think I'm onto something with it. It's hard to explain. And in terms of the actual feeling of the creation, I don't know, like it's like a compulsion. It's an addictive feeling when you're there making things. And
I know about that.
Yeah.
I know about compulsions.
Yeah, it's hard to stop and you lose track of time. And yeah, I've recently been having a lot of technological issues that have been making it really frustrating. Like, I've been less productive in the last few months than I've probably been in 15 years.
Right, okay.
But yeah, there's been a lot going on as well outside of technology.
Of course. I think it's really powerful hearing how deeply rooted your process is in the sound and sensation. Not in vivid visuals or external structure, but in somewhat more instinctive. Yeah. And more embodied. And the way you describe those ASMR moments, the flow state, getting lost in the track.
Yeah.
It's like the world quietens down and then something real emerges, isn't it?
Yeah.
You might not see it in full colour, but you feel it in intensity.
Yeah, definitely.
And that comes through in your music.
Well, that's something that
Absolutely.
I'll never forget. I was like 6 or 7 years ago, I was driving about and I just was profoundly aware of how I felt about a piece of music I was hearing. And I was like, I have not felt this from any other thing in my life.
Right.
Like nothing makes me feel like this. Only music can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And even with all the chaos around you, it's through music and things that land. That's where your order comes in.
Yeah. I guess it's the grounding point, I guess. It's my earthing terminal.
Is your creative process more driven by emotion and instinct or visuals and ideas?
Emotion and instinct, like primarily. I'd say 100%, but it's probably more 75%. Sometimes a track will come about from a really strong idea I've had beforehand. A lot of the vocal-based tracks, well, actually, no, even then. A lot of the vocal-based tracks I've written have kind of just fallen out as they've been writing.
Right.
So, yeah, Crows, Ghosts and Boats, a track that I wrote that I put on the Rex Selections album that I self-released. Listen to it.
Brilliant.
That's just one for the audience out there.
Listen to it.
So that one, I'd kind of written it mostly on the MPC and I knew it had to be a vocal track. So I had all the guitars and everything and then a chorusy idea. And as it got to what became the chorus section, I could hear the O sound. Like, and I thought, the first thing was Crows, because I love Crows. And then I was thinking, what else? Ghosts, okay, yep. That kind of fits with the weirdness. And then Boats, I'll figure out how to fit that in. But having that as the anchor point to then write a track around, I was just listening to the track on loop and just writing this page of chaos that ended up being the story of Hannibal leaving the UK to go to wherever and encountering crows, ghosts and boats. That's how he gets to the desert.
It's amazing. It's just...
But adversely, So Be It, So It Be and King's Theme off the Hannibal Rex Is Not Your Father EP, they came from strong ideas I had long before opening Ableton. So Be It was after a gig I had in Bristol. Everyone was really tired. We'd been awake all night. We were driving back up north somewhere, and I was in the back of the car, stuck between two of my mates. We were all just knackered, and I just had the chorus idea just rolling around in my head. So I just had to sit there for about 6 hours, not saying a word to anyone else in the vehicle, trying to just remember this vocal till I got home.
You just sang it into your phone.
I couldn't. I was far too nervous to do that.
Really?
I don't think I had a smartphone at the time.
Right. Okay.
I was quite late on that whole front.
Oh, that's all right. But so you carried that in your memory for the whole.
Yeah, for about a day, and then waited for my housemate to go out the next day. I was just like, right, just recorded everything as fast as I could.
And you got it?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And King's Theme, another one, like I had the whole spelling of the name thing. I think that came off the back of an Outkast tune. Like I was listening to Outkast a lot of the time. I thought it'd be really good. And yeah, that carried over to
incredible
create the
Jim.
track.
Do you confront the darker sides of yourself right away as an emotional release? Or is it more a gradual process where you step back and reflect over time?
To be honest, I've had a lot of time to reflect on things in my adult life. So, unfortunately, the darker sides are constantly being confronted to some degree. A lot of what I've done, I never consider that people would actually read into any of the stuff that I do. With my writing or my like written word or written musical motifs, but I think I spent a lot of time in my life as an observer, so I don't think about the fact that people would be observing me at one point. I get surprised when people talk about certain things, because honestly, I just don't expect people to care, let alone think deeply about it.
But they do.
Well, I guess.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
It surprised me. I had a gig a few weeks ago before recording this, and I was really nervous about it, because the last gig I did before that had a bit of a callous review from someone, which was unfortunate. But yeah, this one was really reassuring.
Uh-huh.
Like a lot of people said some good stuff afterwards. I had some like analyses from people that I would never have expected, which is comforting because like songwriting, it's a catharsis.
Of course.
And self-loathing can make me quite cruel to myself about it. So for people to turn around and actually find something in it that they relate to or enjoy even, it's like, it means a lot to me.
I bet it does, and it should. You've mentioned not expecting people to pick up in the depth in your writing, but they do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. And that's why you've got backing for the big heads, you know?
Yeah.
Has having your music recognised by some of the bigger heads that we mentioned earlier brought any reassurance?
Yes and no. Because
even just that quiet feeling of
there's a
do you know what? Okay, maybe I've got somebody here. Maybe I'm good at it.
But then it's the constant self-doubt of well, you know, the music stuff takes ages to happen, and you can have something ready to go, and nothing will come of it for 2 years, and it's hard to balance your expectations with time, I guess. Mm-hmm. And like it has been reassuring, but the self-doubt is strong. It's deep set.
Very deep set. I get that. I totally get it. I get it. I get it. So your journey seems like one of deep self-awareness, almost like a spiritual path. And for someone like me on a similar path, that can feel like a double-edged sword. How do you reconcile the chaos and nihilism that comes with it?
Honestly, I smoke a lot of weed. But no, it's I'm a medicinal cannabis patient, so that is okay. I'm not just doing it for a laugh. But generally, I don't know. Like I've spent a lot of time on my own as a single person, so it gives me a lot of time to become more aware of myself. I've not had many people to be aware of. I feel like I know who I am and what I want from life, but then I've been proven wrong in that regard a lot lately. So yeah, I guess I don't know everything. But in terms of the actual chaos and nihilism of everything, I accepted it when I was quite young, I think. But not to be, big-headed. But I feel like I was made aware of it a bit sooner than I would want to.
Right.
But it's only part of it. It's only part of the world. And just because you can't see the other parts doesn't mean they're not there.
That's right.
And nothing's permanent. Nothing lasts forever.
That's right.
Especially the bad stuff.
I like that. That's, I think solitude has been one of my greatest teachers too. And I think I've really come to value my own company. I love my own company.
Yeah.
I really, really do. And I think it takes a quiet strength to sit with yourself like that,
I'm quite an introverted person, so I think I do enjoy it. Having time, I think what they say, you get your energy when you're on your own as an introvert, and I can appreciate that. But there is a point. You can only handle so much of yourself, maybe.
That's right. Yes, and then you have to. I think as a mum, as well, I'm kind of committed to creating that more calm and safety for my boy.
Yeah.
I think it's crucial.
Yeah.
And it's its foundation of this whole journey. What you said, it's really stayed with me. What you said about nothing lasting forever reminded me of the Buddha's truth.
Yeah.
Everything passes, even pain.
Yeah.
Thank you for your vulnerability.
All right.
So I'm curious to learn about the man behind the music and the mask. I'd like to understand a wee bit about your journey that has shaped you. As a Scottish lassie, I feel a special connection to the name Hamish, and it's made me wonder about your own roots. Are there any Scottish threads in your story? And if at all, how have they shaped you?
Okay, first to clarify for anyone wondering, my name is Hamish, but you probably wouldn't know that if you knew me in the real world. So if anyone's like, what's this now? That's why.
Was I not supposed to say that?
No, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Right, okay.
Like I said, no one knows that that's my name.
Right.
But I know. So, in answer to your question, there are Scottish threads in my story. My gran is from Broughty Ferry over Dundee way. And she met my grandfather at St Andrews University. Granddad himself is Scottish and Irish, but raised in Manchester. So not long after they married, they moved to Manchester, and that's where my mum and her brothers were born. I grew up, well, obviously, when my mum had me, I grew up with them in a shared house in Manchester. They were a big part of my life. I've always held Scotland very close to my heart. I feel like it's a big part of my heritage.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I'm happy about
Good,
that.
good. But initially, when I started doing this project, I was going to call it Hamish Riddle,
Right.
in sort of like reverence to my gran. But it was a bit, I don't know, like I don't think anyone would know still, but it's too on the nose for me.
Uh-huh.
So I kept the initials, at least, with HR.
Right. Hannibal
But yeah,
Rex.
yeah.
I think my wee grandfather was Irish as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's something quietly beautiful about that blend, you know, the Scottish, Irish, and raised in the north.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel a closeness to that kind of heritage. That's why I asked you.
Oh, that's good.
So it's strange how those roots, they kind of live quietly in the background, and then they surface in moments like this.
Yeah.
When we're creating and reflecting and reaching for meaning, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like they're always there, you know, just waiting to rise. I think I grew up in a small mining village in the west coast of Scotland and when you mentioned Broughty Ferry, something in me really softened.
Yeah.
Because my wee grandfather, he was a chef in the Navy, and he went AWOL at one point. He went AWOL, and when him and my wee gran got together, they switched roles completely, you know. She worked the land picking potatoes,
Right.
and he grew vegetables in his wee back garden, and he was the chef in the house.
Oh, nice.
And I remember, you know, it was like, that we were doing organic before organic was organic, you know,
Yeah,
before it had a name for it.
Yeah.
It was just the norm. That was just
The way to do it, yeah.
that was the way. So my grandfather, he was 54 when he died.
Right.
And I think I was around 7 or 8 at the time. And now being that same age myself, it stops you in your tracks.
Yeah.
You know, it's like back then, he felt like an old man to me.
Yeah. But like, I'm in my 30s now, and I'm probably about the same age my mum was when she had me and my brother, and I've nowhere near got my life together like she had at that point. But, well, I say that. Maybe she, you know, it could have been completely different. Don't know what the perspective was like, but...
It puts everything into perspective, though, doesn't it? It really does. It does. Okay, so I'd love to go back a bit if that's okay. In fact, I'd like to go way back to little Hamish growing up.
Okay.
What was your childhood like? Who held authority and made the decisions? And how would you describe your relationships?
Right. Well, so like I said, I grew up with my gran and granddad, and my mother and my brother as well. But my father left around the time when I was born. I think shortly after, but I have no memory of him as a person. So yeah, leaving my mum and my brother, they moved back in with my gran and granddad. I had a pretty quiet childhood. I was very much an indoor cat. I would go out and do stuff, but I'd be much happier sat inside just playing with Lego or making music or video games or whatever. Reading books. I used to enjoy that, I think.
That's nice.
But yeah, music found me at a pretty young age. Also, I'm told, Edwyn Collins' Never Known a Girl Like You, when I was about 2 years old. The music video would be on the TV and I'd be stood in front of it playing air guitar.
That's lovely.
So that, I think that explains a lot with my guitar-based passions. My gran was the matriarch, though, in terms of like who held the authority. Yeah, she was definitely the matriarch. So with my dad not being about, my mum used to work a lot. She was the breadwinner. I mean, she was still around, but I think a lot of the raising of myself and my brother went to my gran. We had a good dynamic when I was a kid, but things have changed over the last, you know, when you're growing up, your relationship with your parents does change.
Of course.
Yeah, things sort of started to sort of change when my granddad died, I guess, but yeah.
Okay. Did you experience conflict? What role did you play in your family dynamic? And how was affection expressed?
So yeah, there was a fair bit of conflict. I mean, after what I was just saying then, after my grandfather dying, things started to sort of crack in the family dynamic, I guess. My brother started to rebel. I think, how old was I? He was in his teens, so I probably would have been about 10 or 11. He's 2 years older than me. It started a rough decade for us, I think. We used to jam. He's a really good guitarist himself.
Okay, that's
and
cool.
singer. He was in quite a lot of sort of pop punk and then math rock bands and all this stuff. So we'd get along, but there was a lot of animosity between us for a long time, and that was triggered, I think, by the death of the granddad. And probably deep down, because he knew our father and I never did, he maybe views me as the catalyst for him leaving, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
What's
the age gap between you? What was the age gap?
It's like a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay, that's not huge. I mean,
no. Like, which maybe why we didn't get along. But we get along really good now.
Right.
But yeah, there was a fair bit of conflict from then on. Like, we were a pretty reserved family on the whole. Like, we don't go around being like, I'm proud of you, love you, hugging, whatever. We didn't really do that. But when it came to arguments, like, they treated it like a sport. They loved it. But I hate all conflict. I just shut down. Mm-hmm. I can't be around it. I just hate it. So I'd spend a lot of time shutting things out. Like I said, being the indoor cat, I'd kind of just shut myself in the room.
How did you do that?
So I'd get lost in what I was doing. So, playing video games, playing with Lego, writing stuff. I used to do a lot of writing fictional worlds and stuff like that. And
just stories, just making up little stories.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Eventually music as well. But that came a bit later. But yeah, we would just... I guess I don't know if it's a typical thing or not, because everyone I know seems to have a pretty functional family, and I don't know if that's just my friends. It just seems like they all get along.
Listen,
I'm just seeing it with rose-tinted glasses.
I mean, what you said about the whole emotional reservation, that really did land with me. It did, because I know that world, and I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and it was the same affection. Well, but I'm saying affection wasn't really expressed. It was, but it was. There was love, but there was anger. So it was conflicted. It was confusing.
Yeah.
There was control, and there was love, fierce love.
Yeah.
But it was conflicting, and conflict came sharp and fast.
Yeah.
No one had the language for emotion.
Yeah. But there's an interesting...
No one had the language for emotion. We didn't speak about our feelings.
Yeah,
we did not speak about our feelings.
That still happens now with my family.
We're still like that. No one spoke about their emotions. And it's still... And the minute you start to voice your opinions, you're being difficult, or you're challenging the status quo, or you're a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I started to speak up, it was personally myself, when I started to find my voice and say, do you know what? Because I was so docile growing up.
Yeah.
It was like a wee regimented soldier, just stand there, me and my brother. And when I did start to speak up, I was speaking from a place of anger and pain.
Yeah. Well, that's something. I think I try and present myself as a peaceful person, but deep down there is a fair bit of anger there.
I've got a lot of pain, and a lot of heart, and a lot of pain.
Yeah.
A lot of heart, and I'm dealing with it. But that's because I now understand. It's because I didn't know how to express myself properly.
Yeah.
Because we were never taught, we were never allowed.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed, It was just, this is how it is. This is how it is, and you accept it. We weren't just never allowed. And that's why I think I'm here today with this podcast to try and find a different way. A clearer way.
Yeah.
Where we can we can talk about our feelings and express ourselves, you know. And
Yeah, I get you.
I think there's a quiet intelligence to you. I picked it up. There's an emotional literacy that doesn't need to spell everything out.
That's funny because I feel quite emotionally illiterate at times. But
I've picked up on it, and especially with our chats we're having in the build up to the podcast, you let things sit, and I think that actually invites people in closer.
Right.
And that's with your music as well. It's subtle, but it's powerful.
Thank you.
There's space, there's restraint, and there's a depth. There's a depth without the drama. And I think both of us are navigating the same undercurrents in our own ways.
Yeah. That's fair to say.
So yeah. Was music an escape for you as a kid, or was it more a fun creative outlet? What were the sounds at home that shaped your household, shaped the energy of your household? And what was little Hamish like?
Okay, I'll go through that in that order. Music was probably the exact midpoint between an escape and me having fun. It was a way I could learn something outside of, forced education, as it were. Like I learned guitar myself. I mean, I was taught piano and flute in school, but they weren't cool enough. So I sat at home and learned all the Queens of the Stone Age discography.
I think that's great, though, that you could. Was that primary school?
No, I was secondary school.
Secondary school.
Yeah. I was lucky. I went to a pretty good school, so I might have squandered it in my later life, but I appreciated it at the time.
Don't we all?
Yeah. But yeah, it just made me feel less anxious about the world. Just being able to sit there and just play music, listen to music. Sounds of the house. It's hard to remember it now. It was a long time ago, but I guess there's memories of the long hall that we had. Yeah, there was this old brass sort of bell in the hallway from, like, it was like a Victorian house, I guess. And there was this old brass bell on the wall, and either me or my brother would always ring it. That kind of sticks in.
What was it for? What was it? What was
it?
Just an ornament?
An old servant's bell, maybe.
I've got this vision of a hand school bell.
It's not like that.
That's what I was thinking.
It was like on the wall. It's ornamental.
Right.
And it had like a chain. You pull the chain and it swung from side to side.
All right.
It wasn't that big, but it would fill. Maybe it was brass. I'm pretty sure it was brass.
Brass was a big thing then. I remember my wee granny had wee ornaments on her wee cabinet as well. She used to polish them.
I can't really remember what it looked like now. I feel like
you can hear it, that sound.
Yeah, I've got the vague shape in my head. This is going back to my 2.5D, 3.5 mind eye thing.
That's exactly, and it's your sensory, the sounds eye. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can remember my gran and granddad's dog barking.
What was his name?
Scamp. He was a little Lakeland Terrier. He was a good dog. He lived till he was like 16, and he died on my birthday, weirdly enough.
Really?
Yeah, and no one in my family told me for a week after because they didn't want to ruin my birthday.
How old was you when he came along? He was 16, so how?
He was 16, and he died when I was 21. So I would have been, I don't know. I can't do the maths. 21 minus 6, 15, minus 10, 5.
Aye.
We didn't get him immediately, so I think it would have been 7 or 8. Yeah. So he was in my life for a long time. He was a good dog.
My granny and grandfather, they had a wee dog called Chappie.
Yeah.
Chappie. It was a wee black and white dog. And do you know what? See, back then, the dogs used to run about the streets.
Yeah.
They used to let them out and they would go and do it, but they always came home.
Yeah.
And they weren't dangerous, the dogs, then they were just like, they were pets.
Yeah. That's it. There wasn't any, they weren't trying to try any harder. They were just trying to look after an animal. Yeah. Scamp disappeared a few times. We lived across from a park.
Right.
And there was one time he went missing for like 4 months, and we were just like, he's dead.
How long?
4 months.
Oh my God.
And eventually this old guy showed up, and he'd given him a haircut. He was like, "Oh, I got told this was your dog."
Oh, had he adopted him? Was he?
Yeah. He thought it was a Patersdale Terrier, so he was going to like raise him and enter him in competitions. We were like, that's our dog.
That's really sweet.
But he was still walking it in the park across the road from us, so yeah.
So he brought him back after. So
I think what it was.
For the whole 4 months.
Yeah, and I think my uncle saw him in the park and was like, "Excuse me, I think that's my sister and my mother's dog."
Right.
And yeah, they brought it round.
Oh, bless.
as a little kid myself, I was probably a bit of a dweeb, you know, like
What do you mean a dweeb?
I spent a lot of time inside, like I said before, and I was probably really boring. Like, I wasn't the person that a lot of kids would want to hang out with. You know, my peers would not really have seen me as a friend, maybe. But I had my head in the clouds a lot. I get, like, you know, I was saying I used to write, like, fantasy things and sci-fi. I'd become obsessed with things like, I'd have identity crises. Like, when I was 3, I became obsessed with the concept of Batman. And didn't want to be me anymore. I wanted to be Batman, and then got into Star Wars. So.
But that's normal for a kid,
yeah,
isn't
but it carried on.
Right. What, do you have 25?
Yeah, well, no. Like,
do you still secretly dress up as Batman? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there's a reason I wear the masks. But no, I think that whole thing of the identity crises and this desire to not be me has definitely been a catalyst for Hannibal. Like, it probably set it somewhere deep in my life.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense why Hannibal came about. And I think it's just that lovely, childlike oblivion. That's what it is, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before everything creeps in, you know.
Yeah, before you start worrying about all that.
Aye. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you wear a mask now. What was your world like before that armour?
Maybe a little bit more carefree. No, definitely a lot more carefree. The weight of disappointment in myself and others had yet to be placed upon me, I guess, along with that, the weight of the expectations. That's what's triggered me not wanting to be me now, I think. Or rather, not to not present myself to the world as me. I think I was happier before.
Right.
That's kind of what's, you know, I just didn't know as much as I do now, I suppose.
Yeah. I hear you. I really do. And I think there's something really tender in that. I think that before the armour, before the weight, I think we all long for that blank canvas sometimes, you know, that space where you just exist.
Yeah.
Without carrying so much, you know?
Yeah.
I know everyone's life is different. Some of us grow up surrounded by lights, others with shadows. What do you remember most about your childhood?
Honestly, and I'm not saying this to be edgy or whatever, but my strongest memories from being a kid are my recurring nightmares. Mm-hmm. So like I used to have this one that there'd be like some figure outside my bedroom door. Like the bedroom I was in had this like translucent, not fully transparent, but like you could see shapes through it, glass door. So I used to have this every other night. There'd just be something out there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'd have this other dream where I'd be getting out of bed, going to the top of the stairs, and there'd be this weird like group of Victorian looking people in the dark at the bottom of the stairs beckoning me down. But I don't know if I ever went down. But it's frustrating, to be honest. Like, you've asked me this question about my childhood, and the only thing I can really remember is fiction to a degree. I've never had a good memory though. Like even when I was little, I don't think like my choices I've made as a grown up have really helped with that. But I never had it good in the first place. I don't have too high an expectation. Most of the stuff I can remember is related to music. Yeah.
Memory, it's a strange thing, isn't it? And I think sometimes it protects us. And sometimes it hides things away. And I get why it might be frustrating. You know, it makes perfect sense that music stayed. It's often that thread that holds everything else together.
Yeah.
And this is why we do what we do.
It is.
You know?
Keep ourselves sane.
Absolutely. Love is something we don't talk about, especially in spaces that we move in. It can feel out of place because there's a fear of vulnerability. And I certainly struggle with that in life in general. But I believe it's such an intimate and resonant part of the human experience.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's love that saves us, breaks us, and sometimes it's the lack of that shapes us. Hopeless romantic here in full effect. I'm curious, what does love mean to you? Has love, whether in its presence or absence, shaped you? And is there a form of love you've had to unlearn?
Okay, so if we're being vulnerable, love is probably the most important thing in the world to me. I've experienced some fierce loves in my time, and I've spent far too long in a state of limerence, which I've only recently learned is a thing, but it's definitely something I've experienced. Like I said before, it was sort of the breakup or the ending of a situation that triggered Hannibal to be a thing. It was a weird, rocky situation from the get-go, and it lasted way too long. And that's on both of us for that. You know, I'm not going to go too much into it, but
no, of course.
I was deeply in love, and things like circumstances changed at the time when it seemed like it was the most viable for it to be a proper relationship and things were going to work, and I just didn't take it very well. It was like that situation was a good six years or something. It's going on for
a long time.
Yeah, for a lot of uncertainty. So yeah, I got rid of me then, I guess. Hamish as a concept, and yeah, started to, I don't know, I think the absence of love that followed that is what shaped most of what I've done for the last 7 years.
Right.
I've come to accept the time on my own. But last year things did change. I got into a relationship with someone, I think, I don't know, it was a long time coming. Like, we've known each other for a very long time, and it was sort of two ships passing in the night for a while. And yeah, finally got together at the end of the year, but it turned out to just wasn't quite the right time. And I don't think it's ever going to be the right time now. But yeah, she's a very special person, and I hope she's doing okay.
Oh, bless you. That's really lovely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to unlearn something I've learned about myself recently, which is I have a nervous, anxious, dependent attachment style. So I've been learning about attachment styles. I didn't know that was a thing.
I was just going to bring that into the conversation, but so I'm glad you brought it up, because I totally.
I've been made very much aware of that, so I'm trying to, I don't know, get past it. Like, I was talking to a friend the other day about cats. I'm a big fan of cats. But I was saying I wanted to get a new one, but the last one I had, I just don't feel like I can. Primarily because of my living situation at the moment. It just wouldn't be fair on a cat or my housemate who has a dog. It would just be chaos. But yeah, mainly because I miss my old cat that I had to leave behind at my old place.
Oh.
And another one would never be that one. It'd never be as good. It'd never be as funny. I'd never have the connection. And then my mate pointed out to me that that's probably how I feel about relationships, and that's why I have difficulty moving on from people. I was like, oh yes, I see now. Yeah.
Projecting, isn't it?
That's massive projection on my part. But yeah, you know, I now know that that's the thing I need to address and deal with.
Well, I find that really, really interesting, because it feels rooted in attachment, and I say that from personal experience. Because it's only recently that I've come to realise that what I thought was love, or even connection, was emotional attachment. I do not know what it's like to be in a loving relationship. And I think that deep need sometimes from early on to feel seen or held in a certain way. Yeah. This is what I'm learning.
I mean, I've not had a stable concept of what a loving relationship is, really. I've not seen one in my life. No. You know, I had the gran and granddad, but I think he passed away when I was 10, so I didn't see the dynamic of how a relationship works. And when I got into my first relationships when I was 15, 16, I didn't know what I was doing. And since I've been an adult, I've not been in a proper relationship at any time. And, you know, like you were just saying, I don't think I've really felt like genuinely valued and truly loved in any of the relationships I've been in. So, yeah.
Do you ever feel like music is a kind of love letter to yourself? to someone else, or maybe that part of you that never got to speak. For me, I think it's part of my healing process. That little wounded bird, literally, especially in production. I acknowledge her. I think it's something I've wrestled with most of my life, in all its forms. There's times it's held me. Other times it's what I've had to survive. So yeah, I guess for me it's always felt kind of tangled. Safety and danger, warmth and silence, and solitude, singing in the cold. That's what I carry. How about you? What did love look like and feel like, even if it was hard to name?
Right, well, the view I have of myself is it's too deprecating and cruel for my music to be for me, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely some things that I've written for or to other people, sometimes indirectly, sometimes less so. But I don't know if people are going to read into that. Like you said before, people have been reading into my stuff more than I realise. So
I think they will.
Yeah.
I think they are. More than you realise.
But it's a cathartic thing, like I said, the songwriting. So if I'm feeling particularly bad and it's related to a person, I'm probably going to write about that person. But like I said before, I'm an outwardly peaceful person, but I've got the anger deep down. And sometimes that comes through my music. Like there's a track, I think, again on the Is Not Your Father EP, called That Pesky Mess. And that's me being so pissed off at something. And just, I think I broke a guitar recording it.
Great. That's proper rock and roll, isn't it?
I remember literally rolling around the floor in my studio, recording one of the guitar lines for it. And
right.
Yeah.
You smashed it to pieces.
A little bit.
Well done. Great.
But the second half of your question, where you're asking what love looks and feels like, I don't know. Uh-huh. It was calming. Mm-hmm. It made me feel like I had a purpose, like a real purpose in my day-to-day life, and no matter what happened, everything was going to be fine because I had love. Mm-hmm. But I miss it. Yeah.
I think I miss it, that's especially that line. I can relate to that, there's so much truth in that kind of love, and I think it gives you a sense, just like what you said, of purpose and steadiness, no matter what is going on around your life. Because I think when you do have love, like you feel as if you could conquer anything, or you could deal with anything that comes along. I think that's why music becomes this unspoken dialogue. A love letter, like you said, but also a place to pour out, what's too heavy to hold.
Yeah.
So Pesky Mess makes total sense.
Yeah.
Total sense.
Yeah.
It's wild how sound can carry rage and peace in the same breath. It really is. On one of your album covers, you're holding a child.
Oh, that was the album I just mentioned, in fact, isn't it? Is Not Your Father?
Uh-huh. It's a really tender image, but the caption reads, "Hannibal Rex is not your father," which really, really struck me. There's something almost mythic in that, offering comfort while also setting a boundary, and it made me wonder about your relationship to fatherhood. Not necessarily in the literal sense, but maybe symbolically, as a protector or a guide or a witness. Does the idea of fatherhood in any shape or form show up in your life or your work?
Well, so that image itself came about a bit weirdly, rather in keeping with the whole Hannibal thing. So the kid in the photo is actually my nephew, whom I love very much. Big up to you, George.
Oh, big up, George.
And I went to see my brother and his wife, I think it was around Christmas time, hence the Christmas jumper he's wearing in the image. Uh-huh. I think he was about 6 months old. And we thought it'd be funny to get a Polaroid photo of me wearing one of my Hannibal masks.
How did he?
He loved it.
Did he? Maybe traumatized him for life?
I was genuinely, I was worried. I was just like, oh, how's he going to react to this? And I didn't just put it on and turn him around.
No, of course.
I showed him from across the room, and he found it funny. Uh-huh. So I was like, okay, we can do this. It's not going to break his mind. Right. Yeah. So I ended up having this Polaroid, and it came to putting this EP together. A couple of the tracks had this sort of vaguely, inverted commas, masculine sort of theme to it, or lack thereof. And when I was sending Kikuji the imagery, I remember messaging him, Matt, sending him the photo, and he was like, any ideas for a title? And I'm just like, I don't know why, I just want to write Is Not Your Father. So Hannibal Rex is not your father. It seemed right. It was an unconscious thing, but I probably have some pretty deep set issues about fatherhood. Having not known my own dad.
Stemming back to your own dad. Yeah, I get that. Totally.
And at one point, his identity got thrown into question, but I don't know, never known him, so it doesn't matter who he is at this point. I guess I've never missed it. I've never longed for it because I didn't know.
Didn't have it. You didn't. How was it there?
Yeah. I'm terrified of the prospect of being a father.
Right. Why is that?
Because of all that.
Right.
Because I've got no grounds for basis. I don't know how I'd even approach the situation. I
think you'd be surprised at how natural it would come when the time happened. But I think, going back to your Is Not Your Father, I think what started off as a bit of humour where your nephew turned into something, really
a bit deeper.
Deeply layered, and that title, Is Not Your Father, it hits in a powerful, almost subconscious way. And I really feel when you said that there's a void, not because you missed something, but because you never really knew what was there to miss.
Yeah.
Everything you've just said, it's so incredibly moving, and I just want to say thank you for sharing your vulnerability with us.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for just being honest and being real.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to playing some music myself.